Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasona Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yasona Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivakacharya Shri Srimati His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Vindi Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prema Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nishnanda. Jai Dvaita Garadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhakta Vindi Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shama Kunda Radha Kundi Giri Gopanani Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaved Bhakti Vindi Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glory assembled devotees. All glory assembled devotees. All glory assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 3, Text 45. Yuvanma putra bhavena Brahma bhavena chasakrit Chintayantau Krita snehau Yasyete madgatim param. Somebody could chant. Mataji's? Word for word. Yuvam, both of you, husband and wife. Mam, unto me. Putra bhavena, as your son. Brahma bhavena, knowing that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Cha, and. Asakrit, constantly. Chintayan tao, thinking like that. Kritasne now, dealing with love and affection. Yasyete, shall both obtain. Matgatim, my supreme abode. Param, which is transcendental, beyond this material world. Translation. Both of you, husband and wife, constantly think of me as your son, but always know that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By thus thinking of me constantly with love and affection, you will achieve the highest perfection, returning home back to Godhead. Purport. This instruction by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to his father and mother, who are eternally connected with him, is especially intended for persons eager to return home back to Godhead. One should never think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an ordinary human being, as non-devotees do. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, personally appeared and left his instructions for the benefit of all human society. But fools and rascals unfortunately think of him as an ordinary human being and twist the instructions of Bhagavad Gita for the satisfaction of their senses. Practically everyone commenting on Bhagavad Gita interprets it for sense gratification. It has become especially fashionable for modern scholars and politicians to interpret Bhagavad Gita as if it were something fictitious, and by their wrong interpretations, they are spoiling their own careers and the careers of others. The Krishna conscious movement, however, is fighting against this principle of regarding Krishna as a fictitious person and of accepting that there was no battle of Kurukshetra, that everything is symbolic, and that nothing in Bhagavad Gita is true. In any case, if one truly wants to be successful, one can do so by reading the text of Bhagavad Gita as it is. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu especially stressed the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Yare deka tare kaha Krishna Upadesh. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Majjhilila 7:128. If one wants to achieve the highest success in life, one must accept Bhagavad Gita as spoken by the Supreme Lord. By accepting Bhagavad Gita in this way, all of human society can become perfect and happy. It is to be noted that because Vasudeva and Devaki would be separated from Krishna when he was carried to Gokula, the residence of Nanda Maharaj, the Lord personally instructed them that they should always think of him as their son and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That would keep them in touch with him. After 11 years, the Lord would return to Mathura to be their son, and therefore there was no question of separation. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Bastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharne Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Bhaskachate Shadarne. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions how the rascals, they take Krishna to be an ordinary person. This is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, where Krishna states that fools deride me when I descend in a human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So this is Krishna's position, and if we want to know his position, we should understand from himself. This is in this way in so many places in the Vedic literatures and in Bhagavad Gita, he declares that he is the Supreme Lord of everything. Just like in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he mentions that there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So he's the source of everything. He's the source of the mature world, of the spiritual world, of the living entities, of the Brahman effulgence. He's the source of everything. As he also states in the Bhagavad Gita in the 10th chapter, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. And he also states in the, Lord Brahma also states in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindam Sarva Karna Karnam. So Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme controller. He has an eternal spiritual body, and he is the cause of all causes. So there's so many causes in this world, there's so many controllers, but Krishna is the supreme controller. He's above everything. And one who understands this, as he mentions in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, one who understands the transcendental appearance of my birth and activities, appearance and activities, does not come again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So by understanding Krishna in this way, we are guaranteed to go back to home, back to Godhead. And he proves his greatness in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Vedic literatures, just like when he expands himself into so many different forms. Like when he was in Dwarka, he expanded himself into 16,108 forms. So who could do this except the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even some great yogis, they could also expand themselves, but no more than 10 times. That's their limitation. But Krishna, he could expand himself, actually not only into 16,108 forms, but in unlimited forms. Like it's mentioned that he is traveling through all the different universes in his transcendental roadshow, and he's carrying on these different pastimes. So he's taking birth in one universe, Janmashtami, and then another universe a little while later, there's also Janmashtami. In this way, all these activities are going on, and he's expanding himself in this way. And so in this way, he shows his greatness. And even when he was in that one pastime when he was going to marry Satya, there was one bull, very strong, actually there were 7 strong bulls that the father of Satya wanted the prospective groom to defeat before he would hand over his daughter. And so Krishna, he expanded himself into 7 Krishnas and simultaneously controlled all the bulls. So this is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so in this way he expands himself. He expands himself in various ways by his separated expansions and his unlimited expansions. So Krishna and his unlimited expansions, he expands as different Vishnu tattvas. So these are expansions of his personality, and then the living entities are expansions of his marginal potency. So in this way he expands unlimitedly. And he also shows his greatness to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita as expanding or displaying his universal form. So this is there to prove that this is a symptom of God. So many people, so many rascals, they say that I am God, I am God. But if you ask them to show their universal form, they are unable to do so. So this is their rascaldom. So Arjuna asked Krishna this so the people in the future wouldn't come forward and falsely claim to be God. So this is his greatness. He appears in the universal form and shows these different manifestations. And even as a little child, he appears Putana witch, she's a demon, and she appears to, she comes to kill Krishna, and Krishna kills her, this great demon, and afterwards she assumes a very gigantic form. So Krishna, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the very beginning. It's not that he is not God, and then later on by practicing yoga he becomes God. No, he's always God. This is his position. He's always God, and when there was devastating rainfall in Vrindavan, he picked up Govardhan Hill with the little finger of his left hand. So this is a position of God. If somebody wants to claim to be God, have them show their universal form, have them lift a hill with their hand, and this way we can understand, oh, this person must be God then. But they cannot do that. They can simply cheat and fool people. They say they want to perform rasa dance, but if you ask them to show the universal form or lift a hill, they're unable to do so. And also we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he had the universal form, and then he showed his four-hand form, his Vishnu four-hand form, and then his two-handed form. So this is another indication of his position as the Supreme Lord. And even here we are reading the prayers to Krishna. His parents are offering him prayers, and he appears also with four arms, and then later on he forms a two-handed form like that. So another point Srila Prabhupada makes in the purport is interpretation. So the fools and rascals, they interpret Krishna's instructions. They give some imaginary understanding of what Krishna actually says. In this way, they blaspheme the Vedic literature. So this is one of the offenses against the holy name. Just like we read in the morning time, one of the offenses, the fourth offense, is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. And also, Prabhupada also translates that, and was mentioned also in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, he translates the fourth offense as to minimize the authority of the Vedas. And this is done by interpretation. So the meaning is very clear. The Vedas are self-evident, and we simply have to follow whatever they said. But if we try to minimize their authority by imagining something, then we are lost. The Vedas become lost. So they have to be followed verbatim. Just like if we want to see the sun, it's very easy to see. The sun rises, and we could easily see it. It's not that we have to have a lamp to see the sun. So similarly, the Vedic literature, which is spoken by Krishna, it could easily be understood. We don't need any interpretations. Interpretation means to change. So there's no need to change. That's what the rascals do. They're constantly changing. They propose something. They are simply cheaters, and they propose something, and then later on it proves to be wrong. And then some other cheater comes along, and he changes it in this way. One cheater after another, and another. This is their parampara system, simply a system of cheaters. But by accepting the parampara system from Krishna, then we could get the proper conclusion. This Vedic literature is compared to the instruction booklet. Just like if you want to understand something very complicated, just like if you have a computer program and it's very complicated, you could either read the manual to figure out how it works. You push this button, you push that button. This way you could get a result. Or you could simply try to speculate and guess which button to press. So in this way, you'll never come to a proper conclusion. But if you simply hear from the authority, then one will get proper understanding. So there are different kinds of evidences. There's direct perception, there's hypothesis, there's historical reference, and there's Shabda, there's transcendental sound vibration. So that's the best evidence, simply to hear from the authority. And by that, one can achieve perfection. So perfection is there because by hearing, one gets that perfection. Also, the living entity has 4 defects. He has imperfect senses. He could be illusioned, a tendency to commit mistakes, and to cheat. So with all these defects, it's not possible to understand the absolute truth. But if one simply hears from the authority, then one could advance in spiritual life. So another way of understanding, of course, we understand the absolute truth by the authority of the Vedas by understanding Krishna's words. So Krishna's words also are, in the 4th chapter, he explains that just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So in this way, one can understand the supreme truth, because the spiritual master, he simply repeats Krishna's words. This is his qualification. He simply repeats. He doesn't change anything. Krishna says, surrender unto me, and the spiritual master says, surrender unto Krishna. So this is the most important benefit one achieves from the spiritual master are his instructions. So the spiritual master is there. One should take advantage of his presence while he is personally present. But he is also he is also present in his picture, but more importantly, he's present in his instructions. So we should take advantage of these instructions in advance in Krishna consciousness. So these instructions should be accepted in full, just like Arjuna. He mentions in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he told Krishna that I totally accept all that you have told me. So we have to accept everything, not that we whimsically accept one instruction and avoid another instruction. We have to accept everything. Otherwise, if we just try to understand everything by mental speculation, we will never actually understand Krishna consciousness, we'll never understand the absolute truth. The example is given of simply trying to understand what honey is by licking the bottle, the outside of the bottle. But if one opens the bottle and tastes it, one could actually understand what honey is. So by hearing from the spiritual master, hearing from the Vedic literatures, one can understand what the absolute truth is. So we have to understand this, not like Dr. Frog. There was one frog, when he was formed of the size of the Atlantic Ocean, he was thinking, oh, how big is it? Because he was living in a well that was only 3 feet big. So he was thinking, oh, is it 4 feet? Oh, is it 5 feet? Oh, is it 10 feet? And this way he was puffing himself up. And then when he said 20 feet, he burst and died. So this is the situation of the impersonalists. They simply die again and again and again and take birth again and again and again. So there's so many statements in the Vedic literatures, and sometimes it's difficult to understand them with our limited sense perception. Just like it's stated in the scriptures, and actually in the Bhagavad Gita it's mentioned, and one of the purports probably mentions how in this universe there's only one sun. Only one sun. All these stars we see at night, they're simply shining, illuminating the sunlight from the sun, just like the moon has sunlight from getting sunlight from the sun, like that. So in this way, all these stars are just satellites like that. They're not separate suns. And also in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam explained that how the moon is twice as big as the sun and it's farther away than the sun. And that, and Prabhupada mentioned in various places, like in the 60s, or the 70s, 60s and 70s, they were claiming, oh, we're going to the moon, and we're landing there and we're collecting rocks and like that. And Prabhupada said they never went to the moon. It's simply cheating like that. Because he can understand also that how could you go to the moon? This is a heavenly planet. Just like if you want to come to America, you have to get a proper visa and passport. Otherwise, you will not be allowed in. So similarly, if somebody who is impious, if somebody who's a Mlecchana Yavana wants to go to the heavenly planet, they will not be able to do so. They'll be checked by the immigration department, like that. So this is not possible. And So there's many statements like this in the Vedic literature. Sometimes people get confused because they try to understand things in this way by their sense perception. Just like some people brought up this instance, oh, well, like Ugrasena had so many bodyguards. This is mentioned in the 90th chapter of the Krishna book. How Krishna had, King Ugrasena had 10 quadrillion bodyguards. So the 10 quadrillion is 10 followed by 15 zeros. So, and there's one morning walk. Prabhupada also mentioned that India at that time was a whole planet. So right now there's about 7 billion people on the planet. So let's say if there's 10 billion people on the planet, then you multiply that by 1 million, then that's how many people were there as bodyguards for King Ugrasena. So we have to understand these things by the authority of the Vedas, not by our limited sense perceptions. So one devotee was mentioning to Srila Prabhupada that the Bhagavatam contradicts many of the things that modern scientists say. And this was in November the 1st, 1975, on a morning walk. And what Prabhupada replied to that, he said that, certain people, they have some faith in Krishna consciousness, but when they hear these things about how the Bhagavatam contradicts things in modern science, they become discouraged and like that, and they go away. And Prabhupada said, we don't care for them. Let them go away. Let the fools go away. That if he gave the example, if one has some, it's better to keep the cowshed vacant than to have bad cows. So if they want to live with us, they have to accept this understanding. We don't have to accept their views. They have to accept our views if they want to live with us. This is our process, like that. So now we are situated in this material world. Originally, we were with Krishna in the transcendental spiritual world, and because we became envious of him, we fell down. This fall down could be taken. We could fall down from any position. Prabhupada mentions that in one letter to Jagadish. He says you could fall down from any position and any relationship with Krishna. So in this way, we fell down because we misused our independence, and now we are suffering like anything in this material world. Because once we attain a material body, there is only pain. Pleasure is simply a misconception. The pain is there with the threefold miseries, birth, death, disease, and old age. So with all these sufferings, where's the question of happiness? There is no happiness. So we become free from all these sufferings by becoming fixed up in this knowledge of the Shastra, and in this way we could become unbound from Maya with the sword of knowledge. And by following these principles of Krishna consciousness, we could purify ourselves and thus become self-realized. And this is a duty of ourselves, and this is a duty of ourselves to preach to others. Specifically, Srila Prabhupada mentions how the leaders of our society should make sure that the devotees are following the principles, that they're coming to the programs. He mentioned time and time again to various leaders throughout his society. He stressed it again and again, specifically in letters for initiation. Devotees were getting initiation from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada mentioned, give their names, and he said, you make sure that they follow the principles and come to classes and preach and like that. So he very much stressed this point. And specifically, one letter he wrote to Nalini Kanta in 1975, he said, since you are recommending these devotees for initiation, it is your responsibility to see that they are attending Mangala Artik, going to the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita class, chanting 16 rounds, and following the 4 regulated principles. So this is very important. And all these principles are connected to one another. Prabhupada also mentioned another letter to Jagadish that if one doesn't chant 16 rounds a day, then he will not be able to follow the other Brahminical principles like rising up early in the morning. So it's so important to follow all these principles because they support each other. And so we have to faithfully follow these simple instructions of strictly following the regulator principles, chanting 16 rounds a day, and avoiding the 10 offenses in chanting under the direction of the spiritual master, and study this the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And in this way, we will continue to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, and simultaneously Krishna will protect us from Maya and give us all facilities to serve him nicely. Okay, so I could stop. I'll stop there. Are any questions on this point? Yes, Brigapati? Either way.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very prompt class. So I have a question about the point you were making. You gave that example about from the Krishna book how Maharaj Ugrasena had, I think it was 9 quadrillion bodyguards. So
what's that?
9 quadrillion. It was 9, not 10. But
anyway, 9 or 10.
In any event, so and you say, roughly speaking, let's say there's 9 billion people on the planet. So that's 1 million times more. 9 quadrillion would be 1 million times more.
Yeah, like 1 million times
9 billion. And you said that, so this has to be understood, through the Shastras. And
yeah.
Just have to accept. Okay, so my point is this, okay, that's all very well and good. And for devotees, we could say we accept that, right? It's not like we have any realization about it necessarily, but on the strength of the authority of the Shastras, we accept it. Mm-hmm. But I think we should be, and you can comment if you think I have the wrong understanding. I think when we're dealing with people who are new devotees or not devotees, we should be very sensitive in how we present this kind of information, because it's it's very difficult for them to accept this. I mean, they might be trying to kind of be receptive to Krishna consciousness. We shouldn't use this kind of thing to just try to ram it down their throat, because they could get totally blown away. So I think from among devotees, it's okay to have that attitude that we don't know, but we should accept it on the authority of the scriptures. But as far as like so many of our teachings, that's just one example. They're controversial. I mean, these are the kind of things that people just have a tough time with. So I think we should be very sensitive in how we present it to the to the new devotees and the non-devotees, because it could be counterproductive.
No, well, Prabhupada meant this one argument some people were having with Prabhupada about, King Ugrasena had so many bodyguards. Actually, in their conversation, they just mentioned he had 4 billion bodyguards, which was a very low number according to what's actually stated. But anyway, Prabhupada mentioned to them that, they say they're bringing this up at the colleges and stuff like that. And Prabhupada said, why are you bringing up this point for? In other words, we don't discuss this among like scientists and stuff like that. And later on, Sarup Damodar was saying, oh, Prabhupada, they're bringing these things up at the at the colleges, and he said, "Oh, you mean you're mentioning them?" I said, "No, they read Bhagavatam. They know these things, and they're bringing them up." And Swarup Damodar was saying how so they were questioned this way. So they replied how there's you have your authorities, we have our authorities. This is we understand things according to a process. There's different ways of understanding things, and they were explaining things in that way, how not directly get in that point about the bodyguards. So yeah, you have to preach. We're not saying, Prabhupada never said that you go out to the universities and preach that, had so many bodyguards. But among the devotees, we have to understand this, that there's so many things beyond. We can't understand things with our own sense perception. And it's not that, of course, these things are in the fifth canon. A lot of stuff is in the fifth canon, but a lot of these things are in like the Krishna book, for example. And they just, King Ugrasena had so many bodyguards. So, but we have to understand things through the eyes of knowledge. That's the proper way to see things.
Yeah, it clarifies it. Thanks. And it's not like our preaching strategy is to go and confront people with these highly difficult things to, understand.
No, first
it comes to the crunch, and we're, and we're kind of confronted or we're challenged on these points. Then ultimately we will say, well, yeah, we take, we'll accept the authority of the Shastras.
Yeah, but they have to get proper realization. In other words, if they don't follow the process of Krishna consciousness, if they don't understand that they're not these bodies, even on a philosophical understanding, if they don't even understand that, there's no point of mentioning all these other things, So first they have to understand that they're not this material body, they're a spirit soul. There's a soul in the body, there's souls in other bodies. You shouldn't kill other living entities for your sense gratification. So until they come to that platform, there's no point of explaining anything else in that regard. But like that, okay? Anybody else have any questions or comments? Yes? Sachinandana?
Prabhu, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada wrote that practically all versions, other versions or versions of Bhagavad Gita are written for sense gratification. So Srila Prabhupada wrote practically all. I believe those were the words.
Yeah, so practically...
does that mean that there's actually some other versions out there?
Well, there's the Acharyas wrote various commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, and sometimes, well, like Srila Prabhupada mentions Baladev Vidyabhushana. He mentions him as presents like his Bhagavad Gita to him, on the beginning of as his translation purport. So various acharyas have mentioned who have wrote commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita. So but mostly I think Prabhupada mentions like 720 editions, English editions. There are so many editions, and they're all bogus. Because one lady asked Prabhupada, I think he mentions in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, why are you presenting another one? There's already so many editions, and Prabhupada said he's practically seen that practically all of them has just, said something that's not actually the Bhagavad Gita. So in that way, Prabhupada had to, present Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's why he said as it is, because there's so many bogus editions like that. Anything else? Okay. One more question, okay? One more.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the very nice class. Going back to the verse itself, it's mentioned that if Krishna tells his parents that if you constantly remember me with love as your son and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you will go back home, back to Godhead. So how does this add with our understanding that they are actually eternally liberated souls, that they're always with Krishna? It's like how does like going back to Godhead like come into picture in this understanding?
How's that? I can't say how that exactly works out, you know. I mean, thing is, Krishna's devotees are always with Krishna. It doesn't matter just like that one, somebody was seeing different types of people, and he saw a devotee, and he said, you either live or die, because it doesn't matter. You die, you go with Krishna. You live, you're with Krishna. So the devotee is like that. He's not a question of going back to Godhead. He's always with Krishna, like that. Okay, so we can stop. Maharaj, you're the last.
Thank you. Yes, the question raises Devaki and Vasudeva, they're pure devotees of the Lord. It's obvious just by the fact that they obtained the Lord as their son. So Krishna is saying, if you remember me, basically you'll not fall down and you'll go back to Godhead. First of all, they were destined for the third time. But no matter anybody who as a pure devotee, if he becomes sloppy and he becomes lazy or he becomes indifferent, it doesn't mean that because you're a pure devotee that you cannot you cannot become overconfident or what they say overweening confident. And as a result of that, you become a little proud, and then as a result of that, we begin to become lazy in certain areas. So what Krishna basically is saying is that will not happen if you always remember me. And Srila Prabhupada used to say that I'm very much afraid of Maya. That's why I'm always thinking of Krishna, you see. So that's the basic idea. He's simply saying to you, you don't really have anything to worry about as long as you keep remembering me as your son, because that's the key to go back home, back to Godhead. And even if you're a pure devotee, that doesn't guarantee anything except you probably will go back to Godhead if you don't perform activities which are opposed to Scripture, which are offensive, and like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you very much. So we can end there. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.